So Abeer, just walk us through how significant this US action is overnight and really how Iran is responding.
Good morning, Lizzie. It could be quite significant, but then what we're seeing is this back and forth in the U.S. or from the U.S. President Trump. Yesterday, during his press conference in NATO, he did say that, according to him, or as far as he's concerned, the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran is over. But then he did go on to say that the negotiators, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, could go on to have their talks with the Iranians. Now, that obviously sent jitters across the market almost instantly. What we're seeing happening overnight is, as you have mentioned, 90 targets were hit by the United States for a second straight day in Iran. Some of those, we understand, could be targets in northern Iran as well. Iran, in its retaliation, has hit in the early hours of the morning countries in the GCC, namely Kuwait and Bahrain. Now, Lizzie, we've seen those skirmishes happening over the past 3 weeks or so. We've seen Iran hitting ships in the Strait of Hormuz, but the latest event happened at the beginning of this week when Iran hit a Qatar-flagged LNG-laden ship for not sticking to the routes that Iran had laid out. And this all goes back to this notion of Iran really wanting to assert dominance over the Strait of Hormuz and wanting ships to first stick to the routes that it had laid out. But then once the negotiation period ends for the MOU, for ships to start paying tolls and fees to Iran alongside Oman as well. So this is all an assertion of power. The U.S. not happy with that, striking Iran. Iran saying through some of its top officials and top negotiators that this situation is not going to work out by bullying. But overall, it's a quite serious escalation that we've seen, the most serious in weeks' time. But it's too early to tell whether this will lead to this whole thing unraveling. And it's just important to nuance that President Trump had made similar remarks over the past 3-4 months, really, Lizzie. And so it's important to note that this doesn't necessarily mean that the whole thing has unraveled. We could see negotiators coming back to the table. For the time being, what we're seeing is that traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has come to a near halt. Ships and ship owners are treading with a little bit more caution than they were over the past couple of weeks even. And so that's why we're seeing Brent crude prices edging very close to that $80 on the barrel mark. Nowhere near still the $120 that we've seen when the kinetic warfare in the region was at its height during the peak of the war. But we are edging closer to the $80 on the barrel, third straight session of gain this morning, Lizzie.